November 17, 1796. Winter Palace, Russia. Europe's most powerful woman crushed beneath an 800-kilogram stallion. But declassified Kremlin files revealed the shocking truth. This story is a calculated lie. How did a poor German princess rise to rule the largest empire in Europe? Why did rumors of 12 lovers follow her through history? And why would revolutionary France invent a grotesque story involving a horse designed to shock, humiliate, and destroy her legacy? Stay tuned. At the end, I'll show you her original death report and the first printed lie with exact dates and proof. 1729. In the quiet town of Stettin, Prussia, a girl named Sophia Augusta Frederica was born. A minor noble by birth, but impoverished and powerless on the grand chessboard of European royalty. Her family, while noble, held no real influence or wealth. She was just another pawn destined to be used by powerful kings to forge alliances and secure empires. At age 14, a life-changing decision was made for her, without love or choice. Sophia was sent thousands of miles away to marry a man she barely knew, Peter, heir to the vast and unpredictable Russian Empire. Peter was no ordinary prince. He was known for his erratic and immature behavior, widely disliked by his own court, and nicknamed the Mad Heir for good reason. Sophia left behind everything familiar, her language, her faith, her name, to enter a cold alien world. Upon arriving in St. Petersburg, the young princess underwent a transformation. She converted to Russian Orthodoxy and took a new name, Catherine, symbolizing the shedding of her past identity. But this new world was hostile. Isolated by culture, language, and court politics, Catherine was scorned and sidelined. She was powerless, a foreigner in a palace filled with intrigue and distrust. But Catherine was no ordinary woman. Rather than submit to her fate, she began to quietly adapt, learn, and plan. For 17 long years, behind the scenes and out of public view, she mastered the Russian language, studied philosophy, religion, and politics, and most importantly, built secret alliances within the palace. She learned to navigate the deadly game of court politics, gaining favor with influential nobles and military leaders, preparing for a future no one expected. From a lonely, powerless foreign princess, Catherine was slowly shaping herself into a force to be reckoned with. A woman who would not only survive, but eventually rule the largest empire in Europe. July 1762. After years in the shadows, Peter III finally ascended the Russian throne. But his rule was anything but stable. Peter was erratic, immature, and deeply unpopular, even among his own guards and nobles. His erratic decisions and pro-Prussian policies alienated the Russian elite, fueling resentment and fear. Russia was on edge, a powder keg waiting to explode. Catherine, by now seasoned in survival and political intrigue, saw her opportunity. For 17 years, she had carefully built alliances with powerful military officers and noble families, quietly preparing for this moment. Within 6 months of Peter's reign, the palace was rife with conspiracies. Then, on a cold day in July, the coup unfolded, swift, calculated, and almost bloodless. Peter was arrested by his own guards and forced to sign an abdication document with trembling hands. His abdication was a formality. The throne belonged to Catherine. But Peter's story didn't end there. Officially, his death came from complicated hemorrhoids, an absurd cause that no one in the court took seriously. Whispers spread fast. Peter died mysteriously soon after, likely assassinated to prevent any chance of him reclaiming the throne. Though no proof directly links Catherine to the murder, many historians suspect her tacit approval, though direct evidence remains elusive. In the ruthless game of empire, mercy was a luxury she could not afford. This bloodless coup was not just a power grab, it was the calculated rise of a woman who refused to be a pawn any longer. From here on, Catherine would shape Russia's destiny with iron will and sharp intellect. Catherine the Great's reign wasn't defined only by battles and politics. It was also a story of power wielded through intimate relationships. Over her lifetime, she had at least 12 known lovers. But don't mistake these for mere romantic escapades. Unlike kings, who often saw mistresses as symbols of status or pleasure, Catherine's lovers were strategic, carefully chosen allies that strengthened her grip on power. Take Grigory Orlov, for example. A brilliant military man and loyal confidant, Grigory was instrumental in the 1762 coup that put Catherine on the throne. Without his leadership and influence over the guards, her ascent might have failed. Their alliance was more than physical. It was a political partnership forged in the heat of revolution. Then there was Grigory Potemkin, perhaps the most famous and enigmatic of her lovers. Not only was he Catherine's closest advisor, but many historians believe they may have been secretly married, though no definitive proof exists. Potemkin was the architect of much of Catherine's territorial expansion, masterminding military campaigns and modernizing the empire's infrastructure. His vision helped transform Russia from a sprawling backwater into a European superpower. Their relationship blurred the lines between love, trust, and political necessity, showing how intimately intertwined personal and political power were in Catherine's court. In her later years, Catherine's youngest favorite, Platon Zubov, took center stage. Nearly 40 years her junior, Zubov's influence over the aging empress was immense. His power within the court rivaled that of any noble. But his youth and inexperience also symbolized the shifting dynamics of Catherine's reign, from fiery ambition to the careful management of loyalty and legacy. Through these relationships, Catherine didn't just seek companionship. She commanded alliances that reinforced her authority. She ruled not through fear or sheer force alone, but through choice, a queen who mastered the politics of the heart and the state. In a world dominated by men wielding power through armies and harems, Catherine redefined what it meant to be a ruler.
Only 1 year after Catherine the Great's death in 1796, a grotesque and shocking story began to spread across Europe, a story so lurid it seemed ripped from the darkest corners of gossip and political sabotage. According to radical French pamphlets, Catherine didn't die peacefully or from illness. Instead, she supposedly died crushed beneath a massive stallion, an 800-kilogram horse, during an intimate act so bizarre and humiliating it could only be whispered in horror. This story wasn't just a wild rumor, it was a calculated attack, designed to shock the public, titillate a morbid curiosity, and destroy the legacy of a woman who dared to wield power in a man's world. Why a horse? Because the animal symbolized overwhelming, uncontrollable force, something meant to emasculate and humiliate by association. It was sexualized to scandalize, an ultimate humiliation weapon aimed to shame Catherine's memory and discredit her achievements. This wasn't just about Catherine. It was a message to all powerful women. Patriarchal societies of 18th century Europe used scandal and sexual humiliation as tools to control narratives and suppress female rulers. French revolutionaries, bitter enemies of monarchies, seized on this tale to stoke hatred against the Russian Empress, a symbol of autocracy and aristocratic excess. The pamphlets exploded in popularity, fueled by public fascination with sex, power, and scandal. Yet despite its reach, the story had one fatal flaw. It was impossible to prove. There were no eyewitnesses or official records, just whispers and hearsay spread like wildfire, the perfect lie to stick in the minds of the masses. This vicious propaganda weaponized misogyny and political fear, designed to erase the real Catherine, a brilliant, strong leader who shaped Russia's destiny, and replace her with a grotesque caricature of shame and depravity. Despite scandalous rumors and lurid tales, the true story of Catherine the Great's final hours is far less sensational, but infinitely more powerful. On the evening of November 16, 1796, in the privacy of her chambers at the Winter Palace, Catherine suffered a massive and sudden stroke, a cerebral apoplexy that sealed her fate. She lost consciousness almost immediately and remained unresponsive for nearly 20 hours. Throughout this long and agonizing period, Catherine was surrounded by her closest confidants, experienced doctors, loyal servants, and family members who stayed by her side. Every detail of her decline was meticulously recorded by palace physicians, who documented her symptoms, treatment attempts, and eventual passing on the morning of November 17th. Her death certificate states clearly, cerebral apoplexy, a stroke. There is no mention, hint, or evidence of any accident involving a horse, pulleys, or any other bizarre cause. Following her death, Catherine was honored with a magnificent state funeral, a rare and solemn event attended by tens of thousands, including foreign dignitaries, military leaders, and citizens alike. Her body was embalmed according to the customs of the time, ensuring her memory was honored with dignity and respect. This stark contrast between documented fact and fabricated fiction underscores a painful truth about history. It is often shaped not by reality, but by the prejudices and agendas of those who write it. The horse story was never more than a vicious myth, a weapon forged by misogyny and political hatred, intended to control the narrative by humiliating one of the most powerful women the world has ever known. Catherine didn't die crushed beneath a horse. She died holding the empire firmly in her grasp, a Russia transformed by her vision, intellect, and strength. Catherine the Great didn't die beneath a horse, nor was she the subject of petty scandal. She died holding an empire firmly in her grasp, a Russia transformed into a cultural and political giant unlike anything it had ever seen. Her reign lasted 34 years, a period marked by astonishing achievements and profound challenges. Catherine was not only a monarch, but a visionary reformer who reshaped the destiny of an entire nation. She corresponded with the brightest minds of the Enlightenment, philosophers like Voltaire and Diderot, engaging with ideas that fueled progress, education, and cultural development. Under her guidance, schools, libraries, and museums flourished, turning St. Petersburg into what many called the Paris of the North, a beacon of art, knowledge, and innovation. Politically, Catherine expanded the Russian Empire by hundreds of thousands of square kilometers, securing vital territories and strengthening Russia's influence in European affairs. Her diplomatic skills and military campaigns turned Russia into a formidable superpower, feared and respected across continents. But her reign was not without contradictions. Brilliance and brutality often walked hand in hand. She faced revolts, court conspiracies, and the constant threat of foreign enemies, yet she navigated these dangers with a ruthless intelligence few could match. Catherine ruled not just as a woman in a male-dominated world, but above all as a leader who commanded loyalty, respect, and sometimes fear. Her legacy is complex, a mixture of enlightened reform and iron-fisted rule, but one thing remains clear: Catherine the Great was a force of history, not a subject of ridicule. She deserves to be remembered for her strength, her vision, and the empire she built, not for the lies and myths that tried to tarnish her name. If you want to uncover more truths history tried to hide, subscribe to PastShadow. Hit the like button if this story changed how you see power and legacy, and comment below, do powerful women still face these kinds of attacks today? The best comment will be pinned. Stay in the shadows and discover the truth.